Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing an oil change on the 2025 zx6r. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to want to do is turn on your motorcycle for a few minutes so that the oil heats up and it drains out of your motorcycle easier. I'll be using the Kawasaki full synthetic oil. And then for the oil filter, I'm going to be using the Kawasaki oil filter. This is the part number. And I just recommend staying with the Kawasaki brand just because I've heard horror stories about using other brands. Also, it calls for 3 to 3.8 quarts of oil. I just got 4 quarts just to be safe, and I could also use the rest for the next time I do oil on my bike. I also just recommend putting your bike on some kind of stand just so it's easier to drain the oil and kind of work on your bike. So right here you can see we already took the front sprocket cover off, which was covering this right here. And then right here is going to be your oil filter. And then when we go under the bike, right here is going to be the drain. Also guys, the reason I took my front sprocket cover off was because it's easier to get to the oil filter when you do that. But you don't have to if you don't feel like it's necessary. So I'm just cutting this cup up just to use as a kind of like a drain for when I take the oil filter out, just because as you can see the oil filter is kind of surrounded by all these different things and I'd rather not get oil all over that. So I'm gonna try and put this cup under there so that I can drain the oil out to here. So I also like to unscrew my cap just so some airflow can get through and the oil can drain a little smoother and faster. So right here I just have a red solo cup that we kind of made into a DIY funnel, and hopefully all the oil, when I take the oil filter off, will just run right here into this bowl. If not, we'll just clean it up. And then I also have this ratchet with an extension and then this oil filter unscrewer. Not sure what it's actually called, but I'm sure you can just find it at an auto parts store. So it actually comes off like this. And then when you take your filter, it fits pretty perfect onto there. And it just kind of helps you unscrew the filter from the bike and screw it back in. So we're gonna go ahead and take this oil filter off. You just gotta make sure that your ratchet is on lefty-loosey and not righty-tighty. So I'm just gonna put this on here. Hopefully this red solo cup doesn't fall off. And I'm just gonna, that's not lefty-loosey. I'm just gonna.
You're on righty-tighty.
Righty-tighty. Go this way. And I gotta hold the bucket.
And it's worth mentioning here quick that once it gets to about
should I just do it with my hands?
There you go. Yeah. So once it gets to a point where you can unscrew it with your hand, go ahead and use your hand. That way it's just kind of easier to measure. It's already kind of making a little bit of a mess here, but
I think I should have used the ratchet more. I don't think this is working. Just stop.
All right, we're back. We just had to put this.
I need the bucket.
Drain pan under here. So what's going on, Bree?
So it kind of didn't work out how we thought it would, but I mean, it's whatever. We'll just get it cleaned up. I'm gonna take this cup out of here. It's a little messier than I thought it would be.
But as you can see, we got it out.
Yeah.
That's what it'll look like once the oil filter's out. Gonna let that drain for a while.
I think next time we would definitely use like a cardboard box or even make like a tin foil funnel. That way it could be a little longer and kind of form to the oil filter a little better.
Yeah, there's definitely a better way to do it, but
this is just what we had at our disposal at the moment.
So yeah, we're just gonna wait for this to drain as much as possible and then show them the next step.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you guys saw, that red solo cup strategy didn't really work very well, but I just used some of this chain cleaner to help me clean it out a little better. Okay, so now that we got the oil filter out, we're gonna undo the drain plug. For that, I would just say make sure you have a pan that is deep enough to get all the oil in there. We just got this one from Walmart, but you can use anything that's deep enough. I'm gonna be using this 17mm socket to get the plug off. Okay, so I'm just gonna unscrew this It's kind of at like an awkward angle. This bucket, I'm gonna move this for a second.
So I think maybe now we can use our fingers.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now make sure, hold on.
And then when you're doing this, just make sure to kind of press on the bolt so that the oil doesn't come out right away and make a mess.
I would pull the drain pan more towards the mat because it's gonna shoot out kind of like at a steady.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go, just like that. Good flowage. Also guys, you're gonna wanna make sure you go ahead and taste it just to make sure your oil is not contaminated. Taste test is always required. All right guys, as we're waiting for the oil to drain here, just wanted to go ahead and mention that Kawasaki does recommend the oil change to be done at 600 miles on these zx6rs, and most bikes are like that too. 600 miles is usually the sweet spot. But the break-in service does include the oil change, chain adjustment, and they also go ahead and go through your fairings and make sure everything's tight, all the bolts are torqued to spec. We're just doing the oil change ourselves because it's not that hard, and our local dealership is usually backed up and does charge quite a bit for the oil change. But yeah, just make sure that if you do go over 100 miles past 600, it's not a huge deal. I'd say just make sure you're not really rodding on the bike too hard, and that you're taking it easy if you do have to go past 600 miles for the oil change.
Also guys, this is my break-in oil change. I don't know if you can see it. There you can see it kind of sparkling, which is okay just because all the parts are getting broken in. But if you do see a lot or big pieces, then that would be a concern. We got the Rave dog chilling out here with us. Raven, 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 look at me. All right guys, so it's been a minute or two, a few minutes, and all the oil is drained out now, and we're gonna go ahead and put the new oil filter on. Before you do that, I would just check and make sure that this black seal did not come off the old oil filter, because you don't want to double seal your oil filter on there. So now we're gonna put the new oil filter on. It already comes pre-lubed, which is this black on the seal. And I'm just gonna put some oil on there to help it seal a little better. You don't have to just because it's pre-lubed, but that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm just gonna screw it on there with my hands. Goodness. Okay, and then to just do one final tighten, let me go ahead and put this back together so we can use my oil filter screwer on her. And then I put this to righty-tighty, and we're just gonna do it. And then once it's tight, don't over screw it. Just give it one good, and then that should be good. And then next we're just gonna put the sprocket cover back on, and then we'll put the oil on back in just a second. Just kidding. So I'm not gonna put my front sprocket cover back on just because, as you can see, there's a lot of gunk buildup, and we're actually gonna go wash our bikes here soon, and we're also gonna clean the chain, and it just helps to have this off. So now I'm gonna put the drain plug back on. Before I do that, I'm gonna put a new crush washer. I would just ask wherever you get your oil from or your oil filter that it comes with this, or just see if they can sell one to you, just because it's always good to change your crush washer after every oil change. Okay, so what I'm gonna do next, the ground is hot. So what I'm gonna do next is use this chain cleaner again and just kind of spray it around where the drain plug goes, just to kind of clean it up. And then I'm gonna grab this rag. That way there's no like debris or anything that's on there, around there, that'll mess up the way it's sealed. Grab this crush washer, stick it on there. I'm gonna screw it in with my fingers first. And then same thing as we did with the oil filter, my 17mm thing. And then it's alrighty tighty. We're just gonna tighten that one time and then there you go. All right guys, so now we're gonna be putting the oil into the bike. Just make sure your oil filter is on tight and your drain plug, just so that if you put oil in, it doesn't come out right away. Let's go. Okay guys, so now we're gonna put the oil into the bike. Like I said earlier, just make sure your oil filter and your drain plug are on good. I'm gonna be using this cool little drainer thingy. So we're gonna be putting in at least 3 quarts, like I said earlier, 3 to 3.8 quarts of this stuff in here. After we do the 3, we're gonna just check and see where it's at, and then just go from there. So we have the 3 quarts in the bike. Now we're gonna take it off the stand and let it run for a minute or so. And then after that, we're gonna let the oil settle so that we can see kind of where the oil level's at. If it's not enough, we'll add oil and do the same thing over again just to make sure that we can get the right amount in the bike. When you're running the bike after you put the 3 quarts in, just make sure you don't run the bike for too long. We're just doing this to make sure that the oil absorbs through the oil filter and the engine. So we went ahead and put the bike back on its kickstand. When I did that, the rest of the oil that was just sitting in here by the filter spilled out onto the ground, which is totally fine. We just used some of this chain cleaner again and just sprayed it all in there. And then I'm just kind of wiping it up right now to make sure I get most of everything.
Yep, and that's just old oil from when we took out the old oil filter. It's just residue. So, yeah. Now
we're gonna start the bike. Just remember, we're not gonna have it run for too long. We just wanna have it run long enough for the oil to go through absorb through the oil filter and the engine. So again, we just let the bike run for a minute-ish, and then we let it sit for a few minutes. You don't wanna check your oil when the oil is hot, just cause it won't all settle down. I'm gonna have my boyfriend hold the bike level so that we can see where the oil is. Not sure if you guys, oh, there we go. So you see those 2 little dashes right there. If your oil's between that, that means it's good. Mine right now is pretty low, so I think I'm gonna have to add a bit more oil. Okay, so now I'm just gonna add a little bit more oil. The thing with this is just make sure that you don't add too much because it is kind of a pain to drain oil when you've already put the good oil in. I'm just gonna add some and then we'll just keep repeating the process until we get to where we want the oil level to be. For this last quart, you don't have to keep starting the bike again. You can just keep adding oil until it's at the level where it should be. Okay, so we're almost nearing the end. With the last quart, I added about a quarter more and that made the level of the oil go between the lines, and I'll show you that right here. Not sure, there we go. As you can see, the oil level is right between those lines. Not at the top line, not at the bottom line, which is perfect. Okay, so we got the oil change all done. That's pretty much everything that you have to do. Lastly, you can go to your screen on your zx6r and just hold down these 2 buttons. And then use the left button to toggle down to service and the right button to select. And then you can turn this on, the oil change service. I just don't because it's kind of annoying to have on the screen, but if you want to, you can.
What do you do instead to like keep track?
Oh, just take a picture of I'll go back to the main screen real quick. You can just take a picture of the miles that you're at, and then after
a certain amount of mileage, you can change it. Changing your oil will depend a lot on how you ride the bike. If you track ride, if you ride really hard or aggressively, you're gonna wanna do oil change intervals a lot sooner. But we run the full synthetic Kawasaki oil change. A lot of people like to run it to 6,000 miles or sometimes even more. but we like to change it every 3,000 to 4,000 miles. That way it just keeps our engine nice and fresh, and that way also your longevity just gets extended as well. So, any outro you want to say?
Nope. Just kidding. Thanks for watching. I hope you at least learned something new, or just learn how to change the oil on your ZX6R. Like and subscribe for more. Hopefully be posting a chain cleaning video, chain adjustment video, something like that. So have a good day.